What do you want to da-da-da?
What do y'all want to da-da-da?
I have no idea what to da-da-da.
We could switch to progressive da.
Oh, yeah?
We could switch to progressive and sa.
Okay.
We could sa enough to buy some za.
Oh, yeah. Let's switch to progressive to da and get some za with the money we saw.
Yeah.
Now we know we're gonna da-da-da.
These days, nothing is normal and everything is weird. But you could still save big when you switch to Progressive. It might just be the most normal thing you da-da-da.
Quote to da at progressive.com.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
Come home to Tampa Bay's Marada, where life is like a staycation. A coastal resort lifestyle, incomparable amenities, unforgettable moments, a 15-acre crystal lagoon, and a sandy white beach. Unwind, jump in, reconnect. With homes starting in the mid-200s, take I-75 to State Road 52 East. Marada, Tampa Bay, where life is like a staycation every day. For more information, go to maradastaycay.com.
Welcome, readers. Today on Book Chat, joining me is my Buddy Reads co-host, Classy Green, and two special guests from the Colored Pages Book Club podcast. We'll be discussing Blacktop Wasteland by SA Cosby. Stay tuned. Today's episode is sponsored in part by Audiobooks.com. Audiobooks.com now has 175,000 titles and 1.2 million podcasts. New customers get 3 free audiobooks comprised of 1 premium credit and 2 VIP titles. Use our promo code Shelf Addiction, spelled as one word, when you sign up at Audiobooks.com. Again, our promo code is Shelf Addiction. Hey everyone, I'm your host, Tamara Ford, and thank you for downloading this month's Buddy Read discussion featured here on the Shelf Addiction podcast. If you're new here, every week we get bookish with book discussions, book reviews, shelf bites, and more. If you're wondering what is a Buddy Read, this is a feature where Classy and I select a thriller or mystery title that we both are interested in. Then we have a candid conversation about that book or audiobook. We even discuss it in our Facebook group, Shelf Addiction Official, during a live chat. So grab a glass of wine, a cocktail, a cup of tea or coffee, whatever your drink of choice is, and settle in for this fun discussion. As always with book chats, there is a spoiler alert in effect, so you've been warned. If you enjoyed today's episode, please support this podcast by sharing it with your book nerd friends or on your favorite social media space. That will really help me out, and I appreciate you for doing it. The uncut video version of this podcast is available now on Patreon. Join us there for exclusive videos, including this podcast after show. If you'd like to support the show in other ways, please consider doing that by supporting our sponsors. By supporting them, you are supporting us. Check out all of the sponsors at shelfaddiction.com/sponsors. If you've read the book or listened to the audiobook and would like to weigh in on this conversation, be sure to join the Facebook group Shelf Addiction Official. I hope to hear your thoughts on this discussion. Links for everything I've mentioned are in the show notes, so let's get going. Joining me is the Buddy Read feature co-host, Classy Green. Welcome back, Classy.
Hey, Tamara, how are you?
I'm wonderful.
2021. I think we did it in 2021, but we made it through January, so happy 2021 again.
Same to you. January was a doozy, man.
Man, I was like, please do not be another 2020.
Oh
That's
my
all.
God.
So once we made it through January, I'm like, it's a new year again.
Yes, it is. We're doing good over here, which is awesome.
Good.
So today, guys, we have special guests joining us for the first time. We have guests on the Buddy Reads podcast series. So I'm very excited. Today, Marci and Ako from the podcast Colored Pages Book Club will be joining us. And later on in the month, Classy and I will be joining them on their podcast for another book discussion. So you definitely want to be sure to check out their pod so you don't miss it. And before they join us, of course, we're going to go ahead and we're going to share our book info, and I'm going to share the stats. So today we are talking about Blacktop Wasteland by SA Cosby. It was published July 14th, 2020 by Flatiron Books and Macmillan Audio, narrated by Adam Lazar White, and the unabridged audiobook length is 11 hours and 9 minutes. So that was 9 hours and 9 minutes of fun. So, Classy, would you like to share the book synopsis?
I will. I am reading it from Goodreads, and it says Beauregard Bug Montage. Husband, father, honest car mechanic. But he was once known from North Carolina to the beaches of Florida as the best getaway driver on the East Coast. Just like his father, who disappeared many years ago. After a series of financial calamities worsened by the racial prejudices of the small town he lives in, Bug reluctantly takes part in a daring diamond heist to solve his money problems and to go straight once and for all. However, when it goes horrifically wrong, he's sucked into a grimy underworld, which threatens everything and everyone he holds dear.
All right. All right. This is exciting. We have not talked about this type of book on the podcast, so I'm very excited.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, it should be a fun conversation. So I think what we can do is we can just, I don't know, maybe we can start our conversation and Marci and Ako will join us shortly. Maybe high level. Because we're going to continue this conversation in the after show, guys. So
Yes.
Classy and I have some other things we're going to talk about in the after show, as well as some news. So if you want to hear more about that, make sure you are a member on Patreon so you can hear beyond the podcast and hear what we have to say. But, first off, Classy, did you enjoy the book?
Oh my God, Tamara. I did. I mean, when I was done, because I finished it today. And the reason why I'm just going to say real quick, our podcasting schedule was different. And I'm like, oh, I got some time. And then I was like, holy crap. or if I would say like from the book from SA Cosby, Mary, Joseph, and, whoever, what is the one saying? They say Mary, Joseph, and Jesus or whatever. I was like, okay, let me finish this book. And I was at a nice pace, but man, it is a slow burn. And you know how I am with slow burns. Yeah. But even though it was a slow burn, this man's writing style is phenomenal. I mean, the atmosphere that he creates, his words, I enjoyed it. I really did enjoy it. Granted, I think when I looked, because it did have a couple of plotline twists, and at the 64% mark, I think that's when Lazy came in with the flip, about the diamonds, and you guys got to do. I was beginning to just really enjoy it. And I think I texted you and said, it has been a long time, especially with the books we've discussed, where I've talked back to a book. Like I'm at the movies talking back to the screen. I was like, oh no, he did. Oh my God. Why did you do, So when I started doing that, I was like, this is engaging. I'm enjoying this book. So I really did. I was smiling. And like you said, we haven't done anything like this in a long time. And I felt, I won't say a kinship, but I kind of did because it was the Black author. My mother grew up in the South, not Virginia, North Carolina, or South Carolina, wherever he was. But she grew up in the South. And a lot of the terminology, or some of them, just reminded me of some of the old slangs grandma and mama used to say. And, I really enjoyed it and I connected. And not to say that, our other ones, and I'm just going to be real. I felt this thing, it was like the Blackness, and, I really did.
Yes.
I felt it. I was so happy. Same. I was so happy. And man, I don't know. I got so much to say. I do.
Well, I enjoyed it for a couple of reasons. One is like, honestly, I feel like I haven't enjoyed a male author like this in a really long time. Yeah. So I give him credit from writing from the male's perspective, basically.
You're right.
Yeah, so I really enjoyed it. And it was a slow start for me, but I feel like once things got going with the first heist, I was like, oh, here we go. And I was feeling all the Fast and Furious vibes mixed with like, any heist movie I've seen. I felt like I was watching a movie.
Well, didn't they mention like Ocean's 11 in there? So it was just like all that, blended.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was very enjoyable. It was a nice change of pace. And going into it, I didn't know what to expect because I'm like, I don't really read a lot of books that take place in the South per se. I don't really, I wasn't really sure what I was going to get, but it was a pleasant surprise for me. And I really enjoyed it, especially all the way up through the end. I'm like, oh, okay.
I don't know about you, but like, when they did their first heist with Ronnie and Reggie and they put on, he said, is any music in this car? And he hit Annie up. I don't know if you know that song by M.O.P., but then I was like, let me go listen. Girl, I was like, yes, let's go. Annie up, kidnap that fool. I was like, oh God, it was fun.
You're getting all the feels.
Man, I really did. I looked up that song. I played it on YouTube and I was like, that's like the perfect song for a heist. I think they even mentioned about get the diamonds and all that. And I was like, this man, it is homework.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it was good. So I hope that our special guest today enjoyed it as well. We'll be jumping into that conversation momentarily. I just, it was a
breath of fresh air.
Yeah, it was. Because usually when we start these podcasts, it's like, okay, here we go. We got some things to talk about.
Right. Yes. Hold on, guys. But this one is a different hold on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really could feel like it was a movie. And if I had the time, because like you, I kind of wanted to wait so that it was really, really fresh. So I didn't finish this until like, I don't know, 8:00 last night.
Okay.
But if I had the time, if we had time to converse more about it, I think I would have tried to cast it. This would have been a good, because I could see it as a movie. It could be a movie.
Yeah, maybe we can cast it and you just post it on the website, maybe.
Yeah, maybe we could.
Yeah, maybe we do that and maybe start a conversation somewhere, with the Facebook group or something. Hopefully some people read it, but this book is just, and I know they're coming in soon. I know a lot of people do cast too on Goodreads. Maybe we could like post it there. That might start a little conversation. Where they post. I've seen people cast and put like little photos there.
Yeah, I'm down for that as well.
Yeah, because this book has been read by a lot. Yeah, it's been read by a lot of people and selected as best thriller or whatever of the year. I think it even got an Audible or audio award as well. Yeah.
Well, definitely, I'm down for it. But for sure, in Shelf Addiction Official, we'll definitely start the conversation there. And we always have a live private book club about, in our group. And we'll be talking about this book at the end, toward the end of February, I should say. So make sure you're part of the Facebook group. I think this actually airs after we talk, but join us and you can get us for the March book,
Yes.
Because we talk about this, I think the Saturday before it airs, usually, depending on how the month falls, depending on how many days are in the month.
Yeah.
But it's either the Saturday before our episode airs or the Saturday after.
Right.
Marci and Ako have arrived to the chat, so we will take a quick break. And when we return, they'll be talking about this title with us. Stay tuned.
You heard you could save big when you bundle home and auto with Progressive, so you went online to check it out. But then you saw a link for a survey about which type of bread you are. And now you're on question 17, barely scratching the surface of your bread identity. You always thought of yourself as a brioche, but are you actually more of a pumpernickel? Ah, yes. They said it was easy to save money bundling with Progressive, but they forgot about the rest of the internet. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and other insurers. Bundle discount not available in all states or situations.
Come home to Tampa Bay's Marata, where life is like a staycation. A coastal resort lifestyle, incomparable amenities, unforgettable moments, a 15-acre crystal lagoon, and a sandy white beach. Unwind, jump in, reconnect. With homes starting in the mid-200s, take I-75 to State Road 52 East. Marada Tampa Bay, where life is like a staycation every day. For more information, go to maradastaycay.com.
Welcome to the show, Marci and Ako. So nice to be chatting with you both today.
Yes. Thank y'all so much for having us.
Yes. I'm so glad we were able to put this collab together. It's going to be fun.
I agree.
Yeah, I'm
we're excited.
I'm super hype. Also, I must say, like, your setup is like really nice. Like this book, like fairy lighting setup that you have going on is like very, very cute. I like very much appreciate it. If you're listening to the podcast, you can't see this, but like if you're watching it on the Patreon, you can see. But yeah, love the setup.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate it. So I would love for you both to introduce yourselves and share a bit about your podcast.
So I'm Marci, and Ako is the other half of this podcast. And basically, our show is so it's the Color Pages Book Club. It's a bi-weekly show where we talk about fiction, fantasy, and magical realism written by writers from colorful backgrounds. We like the term colorful because it's diversity kind of it can imply a very much in-group, out-group kind of sort of imagery, whereas like colorful really kind of seems to encapsulate sort of the magic that comes from folks that are typically kind of underrepresented in these different forms of media and stuff like that. But anyway, so basically we, like on our show we take a book a month and we'll basically just kind of like split it up in half and talk about it. So it's like we'll talk about the books, we'll get the plot summaries, we'll like give our thoughts and feelings, but also just kind of use the books as a way to talk about our own personal lives, catch up. Like we've been friends for a minute, so it's like it's a lot of us just like kind of hanging out. Oh, sorry, I wanted to ask. Can I cuss on the show or like?
Yes, you may. Yes.
Okay, so it's kind of us like sort of like fucking up.
Yeah, you haven't listened to this show, have you? With me and my F-bombs.
No, I just know, like being a guest, I'm like, let me ask. Like I want to.
Yeah, that's true. You do need to ask. That's true. I get that. I respect that, Marci. I respect that. But
thank you.
Oh, we let them fly.
Oh. Delicious. Can't wait. So that's kind of like a quick little spiel. Ako, was there anything else you wanted to add?
Yeah, I think that one of the main tenets we sort of try to emphasize is imagination as this sort of revolutionary force and what it would be like to interact with things as people who are not the hegemony. Oh my God, I said hegemony again. The listeners are going to be like, why does she always say that word? But, as people who aren't that, reacting to things that aren't that. And so what is it like to have these Black bodies who talk about, Southeast Asian literature or Asian American literature or African literature and reimagining the lens we see the world and the conversations that we can have and just reimagining imagination itself. And that's kind of what we love to do together.
Ooh, period. Yes.
Awesome.
Yeah.
How long have you guys been podcasting together?
Oh my gosh.
We just talked about this.
Yeah,
actually.
like we're almost at 2 years. Like we started March 13th of 2019. Yeah, 2019. Oh my gosh. Yeah. So about 2 years. But it's so funny because before that, I mean, we were planning this for like months. Like we were like,
oh my God.
It was like this whole thing. It's like at the time we didn't live in the same city, but they were like close to each other. So we would like just travel and like have like podcast meetings and like stuff like that. It was a whole project. But yeah, but
it
eventually
was
about
fun.
2 years.
Podcast meetings, that sounds like a party to me. I'll be up there drinking and having a good time. They're like, oh wait, were we supposed to podcast? Oh my God.
Absolutely, what happened?
She caught us.
Right.
They're like, oh, we had meetings, girls. Meetings. Anyway, mostly key, and then talk about the podcast for a little bit. But yes,
that's book club, right? So
book club,
right?
True.
It's true.
Like we read this book, but
yes,
right.
My glass is empty. You swirling around the glass with ice.
And it's funny. Usually I do have a little something to sip on, but it's so early in the day on a Saturday. On a Sunday, excuse me. It's Sunday, you guys, when we're recording. So I'm like, I just have my little water. There we go.
It is 5 o'clock somewhere, but I get it too. I was thinking the same thing, Tamara. Like, what? You go reach and I'm like, it's not a wine glass. Yeah. It's my water tumbler. Oh.
Yes,
it's not going to be the same.
We do our little libations sometimes while we podcast. Yes, it relaxes us. We get into it. It's a thing. It's book club in here. It's book club. Yes.
Yeah.
But yeah, what about y'all? Like, did y'all podcast like before, did y'all book club before your podcast?
Well, unfortunately, we don't live close together, but we have we met at a book like thing, and we've been like book besties ever since.
It was like we clicked.
Yeah.
It was crazy. And when I first met her, like we saw her, and when you're in a place and you see another Black person, you're just like, a sighting. and in our hotel, we were trying, who's is going to the book event, and we happened to see her like go towards the shuttle, and we were like, should we kind of talk to her because hey, it was either myself or Alicia, and we were like, we're going to be over here. You want to join us? And, and she was kind of like, I'll think about it. Right. She did. And then before, I don't know what happened. I don't know if we connected afterwards or when we went out to dinner, but ever since then, we've we've connected in somehow, some way.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it.
I really like that.
Yeah, so we've been podcasting. She joined me on the Buddy Reads feature where we do mostly thriller and suspense and mystery. She joined me here. It's been almost 2 years. We've been doing this together.
Yeah, because I reviewed books for you because you were, I was like on her review team. I would review books for a website and then switched over to her podcast.
Yes. And haven't looked back. She is the bomb.com on this podcast.
Yes. Man, the struggle is real. I'm not used to this. I'm old, man, but I'm learning. And she works with me.
Y'all, she surprised me. Like, she came back and I'm like, you got a professional mic. You got a screen cover. What's going on? I'm like, yes.
That's called having millennials in your life.
We love to see it.
My children got me this.
Yeah.
So that's so sweet.
Yeah, that's our story. So let's talk about this story, you guys.
Oh my God.
Blacktop Wasteland. Okay, let's jump in. First, did y'all like it? Did you like it?
I did. I was like, it's so interesting because okay, this is like almost gonna sound like shade, but like this was like the first time in a long time where like every time I put down the book, I was like, but like, what if I read 20 more pages? Like, I just like could not stop. Like, it was just so, like, it was just like the motion of everything was just so fast paced. It's like, oh yeah, I read this way quicker than I thought I would. Like, yeah, it was definitely. Good. I will say, as far as like some of the character dynamics and things like that, I was like, oh, could have not done that. But like, all in all, like just like as like a literary experience, like a reading experience, like I was like, oh, this is like really interesting and also kind of nuanced and like offers some like interesting critiques that we can talk about, or rather commentary that we can talk about. But yeah, I liked it.
Yeah, good.
I really liked it until the end. The beginning, I was super into it. I was like, this is so interesting. And then for the last 50 pages, I was like, everyone is doing too much.
Oh no.
Everybody.
Oh
no. So I was like, oh my God. But maybe my heart was broken and that's what was happening. And maybe I was hoping for a happy ending, which why would you hope that? Like, you knew that wasn't going to happen. But so I loved the pacing until I got to the end. And then I was like, okay, I still really like this. Because as Marci said, like, it kept me engaged most of the book.
Yeah.
So I think I was like, yeah, I'll knock it down like 1 star less than I would have.
Oh, yeah. Well, I have to admit, I like a realistic ending. I do. Like sometimes a happily ever after is cool, but sometimes it's refreshing to be like, oh, wow. Okay. That's what's up. Like, okay.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I felt the same way almost with the ending. But then when you realize his conversation with his wife, you think about that conversation he said, even with Booney, where he said, I was Bug and I was Beauregard. And for me to be with my wife, who no longer wants to have, that call that my husband is dead and I have to bury him, or what happened to his son. And it was like, for him to do what he needed to do, it had to be, there was a lot to be done. And he had to realize, is this what I want? But then in the end, he was like, I'm not even sure. So that's how I felt too, like a happy ending, but I knew it wasn't going to be a happy ending just based upon his life and the things that he did. Because I'm thinking to myself at the end, you guys, you came to my house, you shot my child. My older son is in jail because he had to load up. You motherfuckers are gone. I'm sorry. I just put myself in their shoes and I'm just I'm going ham. Everybody. I'm ready for the smoke. Let's go.
Right.
Yes.
And I mean, for real, is he going to get away with what he did? Like, let's keep it real. I mean, he killed people. Are you going to get away with that? I don't know.
Yeah. He killed a lot of people. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm thinking back to at the beginning when he like waited at the bar for that person from the drag race to show up. Like the car drag race.
Warren.
Then, like,
Thank you for the clarification.
Yeah.
I wanted to make sure. Warren. Yeah. And then like beat him up. I was like, you know what? We're seeing two, like you said, there's a bug and there's a Beauregard. And then this is Jekyll and Hyde have to, come together at one point,
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, that's come out too before when the people came to accuse him of burning down their business. He beat that guy. I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Wait, which business?
When the other business Precision burned down.
Oh, yes. Okay.
And they came to confront him. And he said, he just jumped on them like, damn, okay.
Cool.
And Calvin was with the shits too. He was like, oh, so I will hop in. And I was like, oh, so y'all don't give a fuck at all.
No.
Just period. Oh, yeah.
And like, do you think they'll call the cops? No, they ain't calling the cops. Oh, what? Okay.
Right. Why would you think that?
Yeah. And then it was like a webinar or something, like a Q&A with SA Cosby I listened to. And he said in those like little small country back road towns, he said, it's not a matter of who did it. It's who's going to tell and how can you prove it? They know somebody did it. People don't talk back there and how can prove it? Yeah, I killed him, but prove it. So, when I saw that and then when I read the book, I was like, because I mean, you think about it, it's probably in all those woods is like, how many people?
Right.
And not only did he kill them, remember, Mr. Chompy ate them up. So prove it.
Yeah.
They're paperweights. They're paperweights now. So that's something else. Find the body and prove it.
And also, too, I mean, Ronnie and Reggie, don't really have the profile where they're like, oh my gosh, police. I feel like they kind of led a life where it's like, okay, even if they did go missing or whatever, it's like, you're not really gonna be on the police's radar like that to really investigate what happened.
Right.
Nobody's looking for you. Nobody.
Yeah.
Nope.
It's true.
Not at all.
When that turning point when everyone was watching TV and realized that no one had said it, the robbery had actually happened, and everyone's like, that's worse for everyone.
Yeah.
I was like, oh no, y'all, we're in it deep.
Right. It was an attempted robbery. He's like, whoa. We just stole a box of diamonds.
Right.
Somebody doesn't want to know, other people to know that there were diamonds. And I was like, oh shit. It's about to go down.
Oh. We're in trouble now. We done stepped in it.
Yep.
Ooh. I think up until that point, I was like, okay, it's a robbery. You just have to outrun the police. And then when that happened, I was like, oh no, there are worse things out there than the government. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. And then they did. Oh my God, what was her name? It wasn't Jenny. It was like Jenny's they were talking. The woman
Lisa, her boss. The one who I think her name was Lisa, maybe.
Yeah. The way they did her, it's so she literally got whole ass shot during this robbery, and y'all just burned her house down with her in it, and so it was just, I was like, there was just oh my God, the violence in this
I mean, they tortured her and then just burned her up. I'm like, damn, that is cold, man.
Cold.
Yeah. Really?
And they did it so politely. It was like, that's Southern hospitality. My God.
Right.
You are so right. It was done. It was politely done.
He's like, I knew her the longest. I'll do it. I'll take care of it.
Right.
What?
Right.
I'm going to watch her burn.
Oh my God.
I was like, okay. And that was Burning Man. So at first it was like Burning Man. Then I'm like, because he likes to burn. He was a little pyro, But they did do it, and they did him wrong. But when you run your mouth, that's what happens in that life anyway. And I think we tend to forget that that stuff does exist. It's just that crime life.
I don't know it. I never want to know it. I'm straight.
I know where they say snitches get stitches, but it's true. She told one little lie.
One girl she was crushing on.
Yep. Trying to impress her, and look what it got her. Like, man.
And they didn't even cut her any slack for lying to the police and covering. Like, she did not rat anybody out. Like, you didn't even cut her any slack at all.
No. She shouldn't have got any slack. Diamonds. That's you playing with my money.
Yeah.
Those are the two. Don't play with my money, my children, and my man. And she played with my money. That's how I thought of it.
Okay, Shade. Okay, Shade. We got you. God.
That I will tell you that. Don't play with my money. Don't play with my kids. And don't play with my man. True. I'm sorry. It's just those three little things, right? Ding, ding,
just 3 things. But I get it on all 3 accounts. I kind of agree. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, and I mean that was a lot of money.
Yeah,
it was.
Yeah.
But I'm like, how did the bad guys even get that money? Because ill-gotten gains are lost very easily. I'm just saying, like, how'd they get those diamonds? They're not good people. So I was like,
no,
I don't mind if they lose their money.
No, because Lacey was like trafficking girls.
Right, exactly.
Wait, what? I'm sorry, not me forgetting details. Wait, I did not. Wait, what?
Yeah, he was saying how he was messing up his flow of money, because he was using that place, I think, to like exchange money and something to like trade some girls. Yeah, he was
money laundering through that. Through the jewelry business. Because he was trafficking. God. Was it like college girls or something in that little community, to government officials, and so it was.
Maybe I was reading too quickly, because I'm literally like, wait, what? That's like, okay, wow, that is.
Yeah, he had a few other businesses, but he lost the jewelry store. So that meant if he lost the jewelry store, he couldn't launder that money from
the money.
Yeah, from the trafficking business. So. So he was losing.
Yeah, it scared some of his clients away.
Yeah, yeah. Because we wind up seeing him basically at like I'm gonna say a Tasty Freeze, but a little like 7-Eleven behind the register, right? Wasn't he like a cashier when we saw him? Because some lady was buying cigarettes. Remember, Lazy was there. Wasn't that him? The lady. Okay, don't get me wrong. I will mess.
I remember that one scene with Reggie being at the convenience store, but that was like, that was a whole separate thing.
Yeah, because remember, Lazy was he was at some store, and a lady was buying cigarettes, and he said she had her oxygen tank, and he was like, that would be so-and-so, this amount of money. And then he said the burner phone started ringing.
Yes,
and I was like, wow, does he have another business? Because remember, he said, I'm broke.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm broke. I need that money because, Beauregard called him and he said, I got your platinum, or I need, he's like, I got bills to pay. And I was like, either that's another business or he's that damn broke down. But I doubt he was that broke that he was a cashier. But that just goes to show how many businesses he possibly had. Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't even think about that. Yeah.
Dirty.
And he wasn't even like the top level like boss. Like there was someone bigger than him.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Him and Shade, were they like at the same level, or was Shade kind of like running things a little bit? I feel like they were like more rivals, right?
I think they try to portray them as rivals.
Okay.
But only because Lacey wouldn't give in. Because if I remember correctly, they said Shade came in and took over all these little smaller syndicates in the area, and Lacey wasn't going for it. So he was like pushing back. So
okay.
He wouldn't join the group.
Yeah.
And I will say, this is like kind of petty, but like lazy. I don't know. Like when he was like introduced and given, like, you know, when they got like Beauregard, Quan, and Ronnie in that room and they were like interrogating them and stuff. I was like,
Ooh.
okay, you're very much like a Disney villain. Like it was just, it was almost like cartoonish. Like he was like giving these like weird puns from these like action movies in the past, and it was just like twirling his mustache. And I'm like, we are doing so much. Like it's like you're so animated. Like
I mean, he was like a straight up Baptist preacher. But, you know, and that's probably because they said his name was, you know, Lazarus. But yeah, he was giving me straight up evangelical Bible Belt Baptist preacher, AKA / Disney. Yeah, he was. It was very animated. You all wanted to know more about his background because, and I think they did say that he was a very intelligent young man. He was like, it almost seemed like they made it seem like he was a science major. I'm thinking engineering or something like that, who kind of got into this business. So he was, you know, because he was smart, because he realized that Beauregard was way smarter than they believed him to be. So everybody else thought Ronnie, who I really don't know why, was the brains of the
what gave y'all that impression?
Yeah, white, because you know they said they were some racist bigots, so you know they would probably take the white man over the black man. So
absolutely,
and that was something that I did like about the story, is how he kind of used those kind of things in the story to deal with, you know, he used the prejudice and the racial bias and things in this thriller without like banging it over our heads that, look, we're talking about racism and we're talking about Trumpism, but you know, he kind of threw it in there.
There's so much going on already. Like we didn't need to be beat on the head with it. I mean, not at all. Yeah.
But it's also just like built into the world building, like into the tapestry of the story. So you're like, it feels very realistic. You're like, oh yeah, this is how it would go down. Like just because that's how it is, not because, I mean, there's a message behind it, but the message is that this is real. This is what would happen. Yeah.
Absolutely. And even how that intersects with like why Beauregard kind of went back to like the life and everything. Because it's like he has this business with this competitor, and like, you know, this like white owned business that like, you know, there is that racial bias that like makes people sort of frequent their, you know, their business. Beauregard's suffering economically. He doesn't really see many options here. So he's like, you know what, like, let me just get this money real quick. And then it's just like, it's like this whole, then it just crescendos into violence. It's just, I feel like the social through lines and like kind of the reasons like around crime and kind of like crime as like a phenomenon, I thought was really well done, because I was like, oh, like this isn't just some like random, we just love this. It's like, like this is compulsory.
We're pushed into this.
We've been forced into this, like truly forced into it, honestly.
Yeah. And he kind of tumbled down a rabbit hole because he went back to racing because he felt, you know, his back was against the wall. He's like, I know I can make this quick money. I can do it. Let me just make this money. And it just tumbled down this horrific trail that you did not expect.
You're right.
And the craziest thing is if Reggie did not give him up, or Rodney, I can't remember which one. If they didn't give him up, he would have never been involved. He would have had his money and carried on.
It's true. Although I think that's
Quan
what
gave him up, right? Quan?
Oh, Quan,
probably.
Yeah.
The one who got his butt whooped by
it was Quan,
because
he was very petty, so that was him for sure.
I don't no shade. Okay, I'm not even gonna say no shade because it's a shade, but like, why was Quan there? Like, I didn't understand. Like, Quan being part of the operation just seemed, I was like, you seem like the least equipped to like handle
this
robbery and like the subsequent actions. Also, Beauregard told y'all very clearly, when we rob this store, I'm gonna need y'all to be sober, and just with it together. And like Ronnie's like, yeah, the coke was really hitting when I got in the store, and I was like, girl, like one job. Oh my god.
Yeah, he was like his senses were heightened.
Right.
Yeah.
And like Quan's over here trying to like hold the store down, and like is in Neverland. Like, I don't know what was going on there. It was just a mess.
Both of them were high.
Yes.
And it was like, are you kidding me? But Quan was there because it was a 2-man job. Right. You know, and Beauregard was the driver. He wasn't doing anything else except for driving. But they needed Quan in there like you said, his one job was to cover the two people in there. But he over there is looking out into space, and here comes Lisa.
With her gun, toting self.
With the
Like,
sun.
oh my
and not
God.
a little gun, and not a little gun.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If you had a little gun, he could possibly, I could possibly say, I didn't see it. She was quick. She got a big gun.
Right. Lisa basically was like, I'm going to now get my gun. And Kwan's like, what? Like literally, it's like you might as well. Like she pretty much announced it.
Right.
And Kwan was like, I don't know how we got here. And I'm like, sweetness, honey, what? Look
Yeah,
at the
you're
tape.
right.
Look at how you behaved. What?
Right.
A mess.
Yeah.
I can't.
But that was the only reason why Quan was there. And you know, he was like a fellow criminal. And half the time, most criminals, when you're in jail, and I'm just saying this because I have some relatives who live that life.
Mm-hmm.
You owe people favors when you're in there. And I can't remember if he did say that, but you know, you kind of owe people. So, okay, I owe you here. I got this job.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, you think about with Kelvin, even though that wasn't money, but you know, which was Beauregard's cousin, he was like, I owe you because you did this for Caden. And I don't know who Caden was. But you know, it was like that. You know, you scratched my back, I scratch yours, I cover you. And it is, again, that lifestyle. It's a downward spiral. It becomes a domino effect, and you really can't trust anybody in that life. And I think that was one of Beauregard's downfall, which was a turning point where my emotions got really crazy when Ronnie shot Kelvin.
Oh my God.
Yeah. That was so bad.
Yeah.
I lost it. I really did. I was going to the basement, putting laundry, and I'm walking down the steps, and I stopped, and I said, what the just happened? And I hit rewind, because it was like, you know, he got shot, and all of a sudden, his head, and I'm like, who shot him?
Shot him.
You know, and I'm like, I know Ronnie and Reggie didn't.
Right.
I just know they didn't turn on these two guys. But when Beauregard said Ronnie was whistling a song he didn't know.
They were ready to go. Oh my God.
Man.
That part got me too. I was like, damn, what the damn? Like if he called like that, like damn, okay, wow.
Yeah.
You're gonna regret that.
Right, because Kelvin was like, I don't think I shot, you know, the driver. I think Ronnie or Reggie did. And you know, he's getting them credit, and all of a sudden he gets shot.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my goodness. And that just
like,
shows the show. And Beauregard had mentioned that it was something. Oh, because he said Ronnie didn't tie up the driver right. And he's like, I wonder if he did that on purpose. And then he was like, yeah, that's a checkers move. I mean, he's like, that's a chess move. And Ronnie is more of a checkers guy.
Yeah.
And then it hit me that Beauregard didn't listen to his dad's advice. He was like, always trust your gut. Always trust your gut. And he didn't trust his gut right there. Because, you know, Ronnie's a two-bit hustler.
Right.
Why wouldn't he? And then he thought about it. Hey, he kept saying, you're going to keep him alive? And lo and behold, he didn't trust his gut.
I don't think they because we knew Ronnie's motivations. We knew Ronnie really did not want to be quote unquote white trash anymore. Like he would do anything but that. But Beauregard doesn't know that. And I think back to Marci, your point about the racial element, like I get the feeling that lower socioeconomic white folks do not like that place to be in that place. And then you realize Ronnie might be playing checkers, but you don't know his motivations.
Right.
And his motivations will drive him all the way to the edge. So when I also didn't think he was going to shoot Kelvin, but then afterwards, when he's talking to Reggie and Reggie's like, we're always going to be trash. Like this isn't you killing these people and doing this is not going to change our background. But I was like, man, he's like the Great Gatsby, except he didn't come up. I was
like,
yeah. He just didn't want to be poor. He didn't want to be poor anymore. But you know, though, if Beauregard was thinking, he already found out that they shorted him money. So they already found out at that point, this dude hid a lot of money. And all he could think was, well, I got my part, but actually you didn't. You didn't get your part.
Right.
Yeah, because he robbed you. He robbed you the last time. He still owed you $3,000 from another job.
Right.
You know, he's so dirty.
So why wouldn't he do something else to double cross you for the money? Why wouldn't you think that, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, but I think he was just thinking we need to get lazy off my ass. I need to get lazy off her because he's a dangerous man. But I do want to dovetail off of Ako's statement about Reggie. You know, all this time they made Reggie out to be this little special brother who can't do this, this, and that. And when they got in that car and that little monologue that you mentioned, Ako, about he was saying, well, all these be white trash. Did you not see? He's like, did you check and see if Bo was dead? Did you know? He was like, and I was like, here we're thinking Reggie is the special one. And that monologue just showed that man is a lot smarter than you guys think. You know, he was like, everybody that trusted you, where are they now? They're dead.
They're dead.
Right.
You know? And
what was his response? Well, they're not my brother. Oh, well, thanks.
Yeah.
Right.
And in the end, brother died too because, you know, they trusted Ronnie. And I know in the story, SA Cosby mentions, I think when he got to the point where him and Ronnie were talking, and Ronnie does mention that he didn't want to be poor. He was like, life without money is no life. And I really love this line where SA says, Ronnie's avarice to my hubris. And that's, you know, like hubris is a mythical word. Well, I know they use it in mythology, but hubris is extreme or foolish pride or dangerous and overconfident. That was Beauregard. Avarice, which was Ronnie, excessive or insatiable desire for wealth or wealth gain or greediness. And I was like, this man can write. Damn it. Man, because this man, you know, and that's what Tamara and I were talking about before you guys got here. Like, we've read a lot of male writers in this genre. And a lot of times we feel like they don't get things right. Like, they don't write the female characters right, or, you know, you don't have that connection. And this man, I felt it.
He nailed it. Yeah.
Man, there hasn't been a time where I felt such emotions and a connection. And I was telling her, I was like talking back to the book like I'm at the movies or, you know, watch it. You know, I was like, no, what the hell? What were you thinking? Did you check to see if the driver had a cell phone while you're driving? You know, those type of things. And he nailed it. He nailed the atmosphere and his word choice. And, you know, and we read a lot of white authors because, but this right here, you know, the urbanness, and I felt like some of the euphemism he used, like, I was like, this is stuff grandma and them used to say, you know, and mama and them, you know, those type of things, right? I did, and I felt so good while reading this. And I think that may have been another reason why I really enjoyed this book.
But to top that, I feel like he really, and he mentioned this in the little, I guess, interview he had at the end of the audiobook, he blocked out some of the action scenes. He blocked it out. So like you could visualize it really well.
Right.
You could see the action, you can feel the action. He nailed the car, like the car stuff. I felt like I was living through like Fast and Furious or something like that. Like, it was so good. The action parts were also really good on top of the poignant parts. Like,
Did you guys do the audio or you read the book?
I read the book.
I read it.
Okay, we do audio, and one point I was literally driving and listening to this book, and I was just like, the Andy up. I was telling Tamara, like, you know, when they started the heist, and he was like, any music on this? And he was like, he got to Annie Up by MOP. And I was like, man, this is the perfect hype song. So I was driving, like, when he would, like, he said he would go fast and then release the brake and the car would swing. And I have 2 boys. So I've seen every Fast and Furious. I've seen the video games with cars. My boys loved one of my boys loved muscle cars. So I knew, you know, the Camaros and the Chevette, all those. So I'm listening and I know I'm hearing this, you know? So I was like, I had the need for speed. I felt it. I almost at one point wanted to just play a part and tell my son, you hear this? Do you hear this? You know, like he could tell that this is what let him go. Cause you know, that's why Warren lost the race, because something was leaking, because you could hear it. You know, this man was a mechanic. And I could just hear and that was another reason why I could connect, because I knew some of this just from listening to my boys tinker in my garage, or still has oil stains. I digress from them.
just want to drop that in.
Well, my garage still has those stains, and I still have car parts in there, and they're gone. But you know, I felt those things of a panic, and also SA in an interview he said cars are the great equalizer. You know, he said back in the day, and you think about it with Black people, some of us may not have anything, but we'll have a car, and they will soup it up. And he said you get behind that wheel and you can go anywhere. And he said that's why he kind of used those cars and how they added things to them, because I may not have money, but this is my way to get where I need to go. And I'm going to, doll it up basically. And that was a different perspective to me, because I see a lot of guys around here with their souped up cars. They may not have a house, but they have their car. And it kind of made me think differently about it.
That's so interesting, because I don't have that relationship with cars like at all. Like I've spent most of my life not driving. So like those scenes where he was like, oh yes, and we went into the hydraulics and parking and blah blah blah. I was like, how the fuck, what is happening? I was like, can I get a video next to this? Because like it was like kind of harder for me to visualize it, because I was like, I just don't have that same relationship with cars or even with driving. Like I'm like, if I don't have to drive, I won't. So it was so interesting being like, wow, so y'all like, I'm like, oh, y'all really like cars. I was like, that is something. Oh my gosh. Yeah. I was like, it's not really me like that. But also too, like, you know, I have lived in places where it's like, okay, like, you know, there is a train system and all these different things where it's like, it's a little easier to get around without that. So, So yeah, but
I'm from the Motor City, so it's cars.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
When you're 16, what kind of car can I get?
Cannot wait. Yeah. Well, he said he had like a souped up car at 17, didn't he? In the story. But yeah, and I know I lost my little train of thought that fast. I can't remember.
No, you're fine.
But it was Blacktop Wasteland in that city or that town that they lived. It was nothing but rural, open, land. So, when we think about the story, it's lots of dirt and fields and milkweeds and lots of, so that's what they did back then, And I think that was another thing that I liked about this. I never really read a story from a Black point of view about like Virginia and North Carolina, because Black people do exist down there, and we never really hear their story. And I think he even mentioned Tamara in the interview that's why he picked Beauregard, because because you think it's
he wants to claim back that name as well.
Because Black people do live there, and all we hear about is the mixed breeds and the inbreeding of the white community. And not to say that but it was just interesting to see their life.
That's like I was thinking about that in the sense, two things, like the way people talk about racism, but the way that it's woven into the South, that it's, like you can see a Confederate flag and then you're just on your way to 7-Eleven to get a drink. Like, it's racism is in the tapestry in a way that is different from the North, but not, it's more obvious, it's like if 2 + 2 = 4 plus racism, 2 + 2 will always equal 5. And it's just something you have to account for. And he really draws that tapestry. But what I thought, to your point about focusing on this area, it felt very much like a Shakespearean tragedy, but written in America. So it's like you have the tragic hero of Beauregard, you have the heroic flaw, like you said, of his hubris, and other people's tragic flaws, which is like Ronnie and his avarice. You have this almost fate, but instead of in a Shakespearean tragedy, you see fate as this almost like magical, spiritual thing. Fate is almost socioeconomic, systemic racism, systemic, issues with society that makes fate. And so I think this is why I was so angry at the book, because I always get mad. Like, for instance, with Romeo and Juliet, I'm like, just don't date. Have you considered not dating? And so in this book, halfway through, like, have you considered not Beauregard? Could you just not? And you're like, no, there's no way not to, because that's the tragedy of a tragic hero, is that things set ahead of them, it's like you're on a clock. You can only do what is fated to happen.
Exactly. Yeah. You said that was well said, ma'am. That was love it. And and when you mentioned the excuse me, the Confederate flag in the back of the truck, they're used to that. What is it like? I'd rather know the devil is better to know the devil that you know than one that you don't. Like, I'm glad to know that you're a racist, because now I know how to deal with you.
Oh yeah.
But, up north, we're not really sure who are the racists were, because
in the last 4 years, you know.
In the last 4 years, they came out of the woodwork. Yeah.
Sorry.
But before that, you had them just hiding in the woodworks, and you're working amongst them, and now they're just out there in the open. But in the South, to see a Confederate flag, that was nothing to them.
What's up?
Oh yeah.
Right.
Oh, they even said it. They're racist.
Yeah.
Or he would say, we're working with racists, but they kept, but they worked with, even when Beauregard went into the bar looking for Reggie and Ronnie, they were like, what you want, boy?
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Beauregard's like, girl, I'm the main character. Like,
Right.
take all y'all out and it's nothing. Like, but it's so, I'm so glad you say that, because especially being someone like a Black person who grew up in the South specifically, it was so familiar, just kind of like, because I feel like often, because I've moved to other regions of the country and stuff, and I feel like there's this idea of like, oh, well, white people are just racist because like, they're like not really exposed to different communities, and like, there's a lot of just intra-racial communities that they grow up in and stuff like that. And I'm like, that'll really curl over, because it's plenty, like, especially you see it in the book where it's like, okay, like Ronnie and Reggie and all these different people, like not only are you around Black people, but you're literally doing business with Black people. You're constantly, you're in these extremely harrowing situations with them. And yet still, you still have that bias. You still have that hatred, that like that desire to feel superior to someone else, despite everything going on here, despite knowing that Beauregard is literally the only reason you got away with like half the shit that happened in this book. It's just, it's like this hatred, this form of this form of thinking that just has no real, like, there's no like logical base to it. Like, I think that's the thing. I think people try to make racism logical and like cite it to a specific thing.
It's very emotional.
It's not logical. It's just, it's just an emotional, it's just like, and frankly, could Ronnie, sure, like read an anti-racism book? I'm sure, but like, it just will not, because
I don't know. Could he read? I don't know.
I feel like it's just not something that's really, it's like, oh, like I don't mind having a transactional relationship with these Black
exactly.
people. It's not going to go past that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, if you think about it, that goes back to slavery.
Exactly.
Most of our relationships was transact. Yeah, I don't like you niggers, and I don't want you to get. I'm sorry to say that word, but
you're good.
But they don't want to deal with it. But if if it's dealing with money and me getting what I need to do, that's how it is. And I think even in the workplace, I'm just an employee, or you're just my coworker. There's been many coworkers that at work you kikiing and laughing, and we're in the meetings, and I have seen you at the Jewel, and I had to say because that's what my mother. Why do older people always put the in front of everything? Like my mom, they'll say the Twitter, the Facebook, all that. But I'll see you at it's always but I'll see you at Jewel's or whatever grocery store that you guys go, Piggly Wiggly, Kroger, and you act like you don't even know me. Dude, we work together. I see you and me. You may not be in my office, but we've been in meetings together, and you just ignored me. I was like, oh, that's how you want it.
Yeah.
Right.
Duly noted.
Right.
Baby, you don't even know I play this game way better than you do.
Right.
Ding. Yeah, don't play with me. But and that's the stuff that happens.
Right.
And I think they don't realize, or they think we don't realize. We notice this. This is not new.
At all.
This isn't new to us.
Right.
Literally.
But if I gotta work with you like that, okay. Because guess what? When you need that project, okay.
Right.
When I feel like it. When is your deadline? When is your deadline?
Right.
Oh, tomorrow at 11:59. 11:58 and 37 seconds. Don't play with me.
I understand.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
And
That's
I think
what it
we
is.
all felt that through this book. Like we know,
Oh, yes.
like this is life. Like this is life.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I think now that you say that is exactly probably why I connected to, because it was like he wove, as Ako said, how he wove all that into this story without hitting us over the head. And that probably was my connection that I did feel. This is everyday stuff that we deal with. It's just, he's dealing with it with cars and a heist, but I deal with it at work in the office when, you won't let me talk. You want to mansplain and gaslight me in the meeting,
Ooh.
Yeah.
Looks off into the distance. Like, I'm like,
Right.
Yes.
turns back to Mike.
Amen.
Yes.
Yeah. So
Oh,
that is very true.
yeah.
You guys have brought up some really great points
Thank
to
you.
connect
Thank
this
you.
story.
Did you guys connect with Kia? I mean, I felt her.
It's so funny you say that because I was literally about to be like, so kind of want to talk about Kia because
Yes.
I just, oh my gosh. So, the circumstances that they're in, again, it's like, I remember reading throughout the book, I was like, I know it's not as simple just to be like, oh, like, just leave if you're in this relationship where, they're like, sure, your individual relationship with Beauregard is fine, but like he is by way of like how he's earning his income, like kind of putting y'all at risk and all these different things. It's like, it's not as simple just to exit. And granted, they didn't necessarily go into detail about like Kia's professional history and things like that. So it's like, I felt for her there in this situation. I will say I kind of like, okay, I like Beauregard's relatability, but like at the end, he kind of lost me a little bit. Because I remember, like, for example, like when all that shit happened where like, his son got shot and his other son had to like shoot people. Like it's like all that happened and like they're at the hospital. Like I remember Beauregard like talking about Kia's reaction and being like, oh, like Kia was just so mad. Like I just like, she was really pissed, obviously, with everything that happened. And it almost was in a way to like kind of be like, I mean, she didn't have to say it like that though, like, I wanted to say the line was something like, oh, like your wife knows all the things to like tear you down and things like that. And I'm just like, it's not to tear you down. Though.
Right.
It's literally to communicate the absolute pandemonium you have introduced into these people's lives. She's not trying, like, it's not just to like be petty or hurt your feelings. And also if at the end of this, like, okay, so your feelings are hurt. Meanwhile, your son is fighting for his life. Your other son is dealing with all types of trauma. Kia was there for all of this attempt to kidnapping girl, and you have hurt feelings. I don't care. Like, get the fuck over it. Honestly, I was just like, I cannot believe you're sitting here trying to act like you have like room right now to say, oh my God. I was just like, yeah, Beauregard, this is that's not, we don't. Okay.
But Kia brought it to him. She said, I mean, your son was shot. My other son had to kill someone to keep us from being kidnapped. Like, what is wrong with you? Like,
what is wrong with you?
On some stuff she said not to get involved with in the first place. She said, do not do it. And you went and you did it.
If you'd listened to me in the first place, we wouldn't be in this situation.
In this
right.
Basically. And in the one line, Tamara, what was it when he was saying, those are my kids too? Ooh. Like, no.
Don't pull that. Come on.
She was like,
wow.
Today, they my kids, motherfucker.
Right.
I was like,
right.
Woo!
Like, get out of
about
here.
Feeling it, because I almost said, I don't care what you say, you didn't give birth to them. There's a whole difference between carrying them babies for 9 months and giving birth. Yeah, you helped make those babies, and yes, they're yours, but you didn't birth them, baby. You didn't hold them. It's a whole. I really did feel that. I was, because I'm a mother, and I was like, he said what? He better be glad he didn't get his ass whooped in that hospital. That's what he better be glad. Girl.
But also,
you got it. Sorry.
Yeah. I was gonna say, if they're your kids too, like you are not adequately assessing the risk that you're putting them in. Oh, they're your kids too, but then there's still this Beauregard thing that you're talking about. And you don't know what kind of life you want to live. No, we don't get to play Jekyll and Hyde and then come back and say, oh, these are my kids too. No, you have to take them into account. The way your mom had to stay when Aunt decided to take off to go, Lord knows where. We still don't know where they ended up. I was just like, that's not an argument. That's not an argument today. That's
right.
not.
And meanwhile, like throughout the entire book, because I peeped it, I was like, so Kia's making all this food for the kids. She's like taking them to her job. She's like doing all of this like childcare and like household labor and stuff like that. And Beauregard, what you doing, boo? What's up? Oh, and like there was like one scene where like he came home with the boys and like made a little something. He's like, I just made a dad meal, and I'm like, why I gotta be a dad meal?
Hamburger helper, nasty. Ugh.
Exactly, and I'm just like,
that's their favorite. Yeah, because they know that's all they're gonna get from you. But you know what though? That even though we are talking about that is real. It
is real.
Yeah, it was so real that, like you said, here's Kia, the backbone of this family, and you still don't want to listen. That toxic masculinity, things that they don't want to talk about. Big bad, I run the house, but soon as she brings you down a notch, you want to puff up.
Right.
And that's what happened. It was like, here, I run this, and this, and like he said, yeah, she knows how to tear you down because she knows your weaknesses, but she didn't use that for wrong. She used it to correct you, like, dude, what are you thinking about?
Yeah.
Like,
you weren't there. And you're going to tell me because I didn't answer the phone, I possibly.
That's why this happened.
Yeah. Like, it was my fault because I didn't answer the phone. If I'd answered the phone, you'd have saved the day. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Right. So I answered the phone, they kicked down the door. Okay, so how else could that have gone? Like, girl, come on.
Yeah.
And like at the end, I'm just like, he's like, I just don't like, and then like, okay, that was the other thing too, where I was like, the whole book, you're like, when my dad left me, I was just devastated. Like, I just didn't even know what to do, all of that. And it's like, you were literally doing, like, you're repeating the same behavior. And it's like, you're without acknowledging that, like, this is only something you are uniquely in a situation where you can do this. Like, society gives you the space to even make a decision like this, where it can somehow seem optional to like be a part of your kids' lives in like a really direct way and things like that. Not to say that like society encourages it, but it's like, Beauregard, if you were a woman, you would not be sitting here like, wow, should I like just leave my fucking family? You know what I mean? Like, it's just like, that's literally not a choice, girl. What? You'd have to just figure it out, make it work. What? And like, so you're sitting here and like kind of resting on that, like, privilege seems like a weird word, but like just like on that like social space to be able to kind of even consider these possibilities when it's like this should not even be something that you're considering. And at the end of the book, did he sell the car? I can't remember, but
he didn't. He gave it to a damn somebody to crush it. I'm like, how dare you?
Right.
So you didn't even sell the shit. Like, are you nuts?
Like, could have sold the goddamn car on page 31, and the book would have been a lot shorter. And so we did all that.
Yeah.
All that? Okay.
Yeah.
So at the end, you didn't have anything to show for it. You didn't have any more money, nothing. So why didn't you sell the car in the end? Why did you just send it off to a junkyard to be crushed? Like, why did you do that? That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Because it destroys the whole ghost of his dad. That's how I felt.
Bye to the ghost without.
But I mean, I think it's just kind of like, the destruction, even though selling it is kind of like, I got rid of it, but just that whole destruction thing. And I know it's all poetic.
They're still not well off. They still need the money. They got all these hospital bills. You got a kid that's setting things on fire and shooting people. I mean, you're going to need the money.
Booney's going to sell the platinum or the whatever the stuff. Booney was going to sell that stuff. So they would have money.
Oh my
God. When Marci was talking about, that choice of men always have a choice to walk away. And then if a woman walks away from raising children, she's always, kind of looked at as the bad mother. What mother would leave her child? Yeah. But I also felt like Cosby was saying in this story, sometimes when a father leaves, sometimes men don't have the tools to be a man. And it's hard for a woman. They'll say single moms, I've raised my son, but there's some tools that women don't have to raise their sons. There's just some things that women don't know to give their sons. And if you think about, the relationship he had with his mom, it kind of, he threw a little bit in there, not a whole lot, because she was, like he said, she was mean as arsenic. And the dad wanted to get away from her because of the mouth. And you could tell he got that line from his dad. That's something that the dad said, and he picked up on it. I mean, the dad took him to the bar, and he's up there hitting on another woman. So this man saw all this toxicity or this negativity in his life. And with the dad not being there, I think that was the things that he was trying to show in this story, that he wanted to be a good dad. He didn't have the tools. He didn't really know what to do. And then he's fighting against Kia, even though she's a good woman to him.
I feel like the author kind of wanted us to give Beauregard a pass, and I don't.
I agree.
Do you?
For
which part?
Yeah.
For
all of it. He wanted
ending.
us to give him a pass in the end.
I agree. That's what it lost. That's where it lost. I feel like it was almost like this idea. There was something poetic about Beauregard. There was something. It was very focused on him as the main character. I think it's a blind spot. I think it's not taking in the female perspective, and not just that, but it's not a condemnation of this enough. He's still, even though he gives up on his father in the end, he embodies his father. He takes it on. There's a love letter to it that this is out on the perspective of the tragedy that he's creating, and he never. There's never a moment where Beauregard realizes that he brought this on not just himself, but it's like Hamlet. He brought this on not just himself, but everybody else, and everyone is a casualty of his behavior. But instead, it's given this sort of like Western off into the sunset,
Right.
And I agree, Tamara. That part got me. That part, I was like, no, you don't get this ending. You don't get to do all this. And I understand you're sad. You're sad that you lost Kelvin. You're sad that you lost Eric. But you still don't see how you're the villain in the end.
The role you played in this.
Yeah. Definitely.
And I mean, Beauregard did not know how to be a father. He didn't. But even though he didn't know how to be a father, you would think he would have learned through his own experiences, which we got to see, what not to do. Like when he was a child, he killed someone. He rolled over someone in a car.
A couple someones.
Right.
So why would you want to put your own son that's about that age in a situation where he feels he needs to burn down buildings, or he feels he has to shoot people? Because
But he tried not to. Remember, he wouldn't let his son into his business. He tried not to. And that's the other thing. And the little boy overheard that conversation. And it always happens where you think you're protecting your children.
But that environment,
but they know more.
It's do as I say, not as I do situation. Because he was still doing other things. So he wasn't an example to his son.
No, not at all. And that's what I'm saying. Like, even though he thought he was hiding, this little boy, he's not dumb. He knows kids know. Just because you think you're hiding things. I mean, if you think about all of us, you think your parents are arguing and they're whispering, or they know, they pick up on cues. And like he said, I overheard Mama and Auntie talking. And, but
but that's my whole point. Like so for example, I was not in this type of situation, but if I heard my parents talking to someone saying, we're going to lose our house, we're going to lose this is happening. What kind of child, what kind of person, what have you been around? Where have you learned that the reaction to that is to go burn down a building? Like, that's not the reaction I would have.
No, well, he said it was the montage gene. I was like, now that right there, I was like, that's bullshit. I call bullshit on that one. Yeah.
I think there would have been something heroic. There's still something heroic about Beauregard, and I think there's something really realistic about the idea of like, okay, Beauregard is back to the fate argument. Between Booney and his father, like, this is how he knows to raise a kid. And he's doing something incrementally better in the sense that he's like, I don't want to abandon you guys. But Beauregard doesn't have any more images. Like, who's a good father in the story? I guess Eric, who ends up dying because was it who he helped save? No. The guy who helped deliver the baby.
Eric. Yeah, the one who died.
Who has like no story because he ends up getting shot because Quan and Rooney couldn't like get it together. But I'm like looking at the story and I'm like, there's no juxtaposition of someone who fathers differently. So Beauregard has no other idea of how, and that's what I mean by the way fate can lock us in. And I think that's what he means when he's talking about his father and this as like a family gene. It's not really a gene, but it's the inevitability of not having
the tools,
anybody else.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And the systemicness. And people, I mean, obviously, the only thing that gets me is like in real life, people do find a way to be different than their forefathers.
Yeah.
Like, and I think the people in my life who I've seen like that, I have such a respect for them, because to overcome that is it's just astounding. Anyway.
Yeah.
You're right. And that's the thing. It's like, there are people who do have that choice, but it's a choice. It's like, do you want to, or do you enjoy, you know, and I think too, that's where we were kind of in this story, he kind of touches on that. Like, I like being bug.
Yeah.
You know, I like it. And I think that was at that end, he was like, I kind of like the fast life, even though I want to be a good dad. And then, you know, Kia calls him out on his bullshit. And she, you know, it's like, hey, you could do this if you want to. And those boys are going to hate. I don't have to say anything. They're going to hate you on your own. So I do wonder, like, is this going to be a part 2 to this book? Is he going to try? And then I'm like, do I really want?
I don't want a part 2. I don't want it
either, because I'm kind of like,
sorry. I enjoyed the book, but I don't want anymore.
I don't either,
okay.
because I kind of, even though I think somebody said they didn't like the ending because it was kind of left open-ended. But I think like this conversation that we're having is so good, because, you know, this is some of the things that happens in the Black community with our Black men and women. And, you know, this woman could possibly be a single mother, even though I felt like she was a single mother, even though he provided for her financially. Right. She felt there were many times where she was placed in a single mother situation. You know, like you said, she's taking him to school and taking him to pick him up. And, you know, he would pick him up and he would cook every once in a while. But I did like that family dynamic that he did show, because he did show Kia as a strong woman. He did do that in this. I will give him that. He gave, you know, that was probably one of the probably the only, you know, Mom was strong-willed. I won't say she was portrayed as a strong woman. Yeah.
I think because even Jenny also had like motivations. Kia had motivations. The thing that gets me about Kia, okay, this is like maybe a sore spot. I understand, and maybe this is a reflection of reality. I was like, how is every man in this story dark? And every woman in this story is light-skinned with light eyes.
Come on.
I was like, I don't know about
classic, man. Ooh, I hate that.
Right.
Hate it.
Like, y'all really were gonna do this again? And even his son, but strangely, like his son has light eyes but dark skin. I was like, you really couldn't have made the boy a light skin with light eyes. Like, come on, really? And it was just, to me, it was like, I
meant to look up his wife in real life. SA Cosby's his wife.
Yeah,
because I was wondering
look it up,
about
Marcy.
that.
Tell us.
Yeah, that was something I was thinking about, because in the story, his mom has gray eyes, and that's where Ariel got her gray eyes, and I was like. Really?
Right. It just,
he couldn't get a Lupita or one of us, you know, Ako, or I see you got your beautiful brown over there. You know, like why can't we be represented in these damn books? Because I mean, I'm not gonna lie. His sister, she was a thick sister with some hair. I was like, come on now, give us some of this. But yeah.
And it just made, but then I thought about, okay, in reality, since we do have this colorism issue in America about lighter skinned women and Black men thinking them, you know, a prize, but then also with that sexism of making her do all this emotional labor and not telling her things and not thinking she's smart enough to handle things. I'm like, man, this is a double-sided sword that cuts both ways. And it's, none of us win in this dichotomy, because Beauregard is not telling her stuff she needs to know and is treating her like this sort of prize, but then is not affording her agency, you know, and I just was so frustrated. So I was frustrated on a meta level, because I was like, so you can't have any dark skinned people. But then I was frustrated in the book because I was like, what is this sexism? Anyway.
Yeah.
No, I agree with you. Like, I feel like you could have at least shown your wife some respect If you're gonna go off and do these things and like shit hits the fan, fucking tell her shit has hit the fan.
Right.
Like you're out dancing and people are looking at you and she's like, what's wrong? I know something's wrong. No, hon, just go home.
No,
Right.
They could have took off and avoided that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
Because you know how they say some things, and I know like at work, like if my boss knows something is about to go down, he won't tell me because he's protecting me. Because some things, if I don't know, I can't say. If I say I don't know because he has not gave me that information. But in this story, this woman knows.
Right.
She may not know everything, but she knows the basis of your life and your lifestyle outside of the the mechanic you are. So why are you trying to protect her?
If
Anything, if you'd have told her he was going on that second heist, maybe she would have answered her damn phone.
Right.
Maybe she would have, learned how to shoot a gun. Maybe she could have been your Bonnie to your Clyde. Come on.
Right.
She could have protected
Or
herself.
she could have got the kids and got out of Dodge while
Thank
he was
you.
taking
That
care
too.
of this last bit.
Right.
Yep.
Right.
You're right. Before all of this happened. Right. Because you're right. Because Lazarus even told him before they did that second heist, if you don't get this right, I'm killing your family. So yeah, you're right. I would have got my family out because who knows? Shit happened the first time.
But it's the hubris.
Yeah.
It's like you said, Classy. It's the hubris again.
That
He thinks he's
overconfidence.
smarter.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah. God. This story's a lot more complex than I thought.
Yeah.
No, you guys have really brought out some really good points. Some things I never even thought to think about with this story. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah,
Marcy, did you find his wife? What are they a couple that's looking like?
I'm looking and I cannot find his wife, unfortunately. But I can follow up with y'all. But I would not be surprised. If it's kind of a
right. I wonder too, like, is she white or is she a light-skinned woman? Because he does have the biracial child in the story. I did think about that too. And I mean, not to say it's wrong, but come on, bro. Your mama is black. Come on.
Like it's just
I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. Just again. Sorry.
No, go ahead, Marcy. Go ahead.
Yeah, just like that. I don't know. Just like that weird coded like beauty is capital kind of. I don't know, like positioning of like like all the women like it's like to associate Kia with being like this relatable character, even Ariel or his mom or whatever. Like we have to give them these like certain features, right? So that like they can be more, perhaps sympathetic,
seen as innocent,
exactly.
Seen as worth protecting,
right?
There's something unexamined about it that irritated me,
right? And so I don't know. I'm definitely kind of like Beauregard, Sistren. This ain't it. Like it's just like it's that very antiquated idea of like, oh, I'm giving y'all money, so like doing my job. And I'm like, but Kia also works. Yeah. It takes the kids to work. She works multiple jobs actually. So
yeah, she does.
What do we bring it to the table exactly? You know what I mean? Like it's like I don't
Yep.
Okay, Beauregard. Sure.
Yeah, your job isn't just money, right? Like that's not what a family structure is about. Right. You're not an ATM.
Right. That's but yes, so
hamburger helping making ATM. Anyway, sorry.
Well, I don't know. I kind of felt like some of those scenes with Kia, he kind of felt she was a sexual ATM. I kind of just felt like, I don't know. I just didn't feel the closeness. I just felt like, I don't know. But
the romance, the connection.
I tried not to read into it too much, but I'm like, I don't know. This just doesn't feel like.
Yeah. No, I think that's accurate. There's something like, oh, this is what a man does. He has a light-skinned wife and he has his kids and he protects them, capital P, and I will do anything to that. And you're like, all right, let's think about this. Like, let's get away from the scripts of your life and think about it, because that's partially fate, right? You're giving into the systemic racism, you're giving into the systemic scripts about masculinity, and all those things decide your outcome. But what if you had turned away for a second and thought more individually or more nuanced? Perhaps what to save everybody's life.
Yeah. Or even, I mean, this is, this is a little petty, but even just like the casual scenes where like, I feel like this happened right before they almost got kidnapped, but like, you know, they came to the house and Kia was just like casually just only wearing one of Beauregard's shirts. It was just like, oh, like she was always just like wearing something of his and this weird, I don't know, it's just always
it was
very
that Beyonce feel.
Yeah, just like this like kind of sexual. Right. And then it's like, and then I think there's a message, there's like subtext there around just like property and ownership, right? Like it's just like this idea of like she's always wearing something of yours, something that belongs to you. And like by extension, she as a person belongs to you in this way, or like that's kind of how you perceive her. And it's like, Beauregard, are we not it's like I need you to like examine that and acknowledge that. Like that's
Especially too, I think this ride or die. I don't know. I was listening to that Tiny and T.I. story the other day, and I was like, this ride or die stuff. This isn't where it's at. This isn't where it's at. And it's especially if you're looking at Kia's life, you're like, you know, like you said, Classy, like she's a single mother in most things, with the added burden of worrying that someone's going to call and tell her that her husband's dead, and maybe someone's going to show up at her house and kidnap her and her kids.
Scary. Very scary.
No.
I mean, this might be an unpopular opinion, but I feel like the ride or die thing might have been necessary in the past. You know, it might have been necessary back then when there weren't a lot of choices for women. But now I want off this fucking ride. I'm not gonna stay on it.
But you know what? Yeah. But I wonder too, was that a part of this story? Because they were in like this poor rural town and without too many opportunities. I mean, when you think about it, he even talked about how at the beginning, all these, what was the one company that came in and promised to give all these jobs, and the jobs went overseas. So I do wonder if he tried to, and not to say like with their relationship, but you know, she was not a housekeeper, but a custodian in a hotel, right? Or housekeeper in a hotel. And then she did side jobs. So, you know, I just wonder because nobody really had any professional jobs in that town. So I just wonder, but yeah, you're right with that, the ride or die, that used to be back in the day because women didn't have opportunities, but now they do. But in this book, I'm not even sure because he even mentioned Kia's sister when she was a hairdresser and he was wondering how she made all this money. I was like, you fucker.
Right.
I'm sorry. I was like, you little fucker. What you gonna say? Because then I was like, I'm thinking, what, does she have a drug dealing boyfriend or something? And then I'm like, no, this woman is a
entrepreneur.
Yeah, she's just a hairdresser.
And I'm thinking to myself, how the hell can you question somebody and you're living a double life? So you know what? I did have some issues with some
those are some blind spots.
Yeah, those little nuances.
Those are some blind spots of the author, I think. Maybe some of his own assumptions and, you know, and it comes out in the writing because you write what you know, right?
Yep. And so, I did. He pissed me off with that one. I was like, because she works.
Right.
Yeah. and also,
every day
that
and pay her bills.
Right.
And it's funny too, because I mean, at the same time, Beauregard had his own business that was struggling. So it's like, okay, so it's so easy for you to look at her and be like, how she got all this money? Like, oh my God. Like, it's just like, okay, so you're clearly mad about your own economic station. You're probably making it about masculinity in this weird way about like, I need to provide and my worth as a man. And I'm just like, girl, I'm tired. Like, I'm tired. Also, while we're speaking about the author, this is something that I've never actually talked about this before, I guess, on like the podcast. But I always kind of struggle when there's just like really like bigoted language in a book to like add like grit or like kind of a sense of urgency to what's going on. Right, like realness, but it's like completely kind of unexamined. Like throughout the book, there's just hella sexist, hella homophobic, like all types of just fat phobic, like all just like every form of bigotry that exists. I feel like there was a lot of just casual like throwing around of certain terms and just like ways of dehumanizing people, which I guess is like congruent with sort of like the value structure that the characters held, but it was also something that I'm like, I always look at the author kind of a little sideways. I'm like, so why is it so easy for you to say all these things? Right. Just like slip into it so easily. Like, I'm like, is it like, I understand, sure, you might be trying to build a certain environment, but like, I'm always like,
yeah.
It can hit a little different. So
Yeah.
I thought the same thing because it
I
was
agree.
based in 2012. The setting was 2012. I
Mhm.
do get because when I heard the first word that was mentioned, which may have been Dyke, maybe I think he was referring to Lisa, the jewelry owner who basically gave the secret away about the diamonds. And I'm like, ooh, because we talked about this in a previous book. They were talking about mental health and some other things. And I'm like, in this environment, in this time, why do you handle it like that? And I get that he was trying to say, we're in the backwoods and this is the way the backwoods people talk. This is us and accept us. And it's like, but dude, if you're selling books, you got to be politically, you be sensitive to some of these things. You could have done this in a totally different way and got the same message across. And
sorry.
Yeah. Oh, no. Go. But that's how I felt. And when I heard it, I was like, okay, maybe it's going to hit once. And then he said another one. I was like, damn. And then he did it again. And I was like, I know Ronnie is a bigoted ignoramus, but damn, SA. You could have did it differently.
And I will say this. I noticed that when it came to like, particularly like, the N-word and stuff, like they would say it between Black people, but never, I don't remember a moment where a white person.
They did once, but then he beat him up.
Yeah.
Remember when they came for us?
Right.
So there was like a very clear retaliation there, a very clear kind of like, oh, actually, you got me fucked up. And aside from that, it was like, they would like white people would call him like boy and things like that. These like kind of more like coded, not subtle, but like, these like more like coded things. And I'm like, I feel like a similar level of nuance could have been explored with other identities. That ones that I'm just gonna presume that you did not hold. Just saying. So like,
no, I think that's accurate.
Yeah.
So,
you bring Lisa in there and you bring her in and take her out without us really needing to know the crux of her. Because she was dirty. She was, I won't say in the syndicate, but she was in the crime life as well. Yeah. She wasn't just a jewelry store owner or an employee. So he could have explored a whole lot. So as Tamara said, you think about that, you write what you know.
Yeah.
Right. And then I'm thinking too, like, what editor didn't say,
hey,
right, where's the nuance behind Lisa?
Right.
Or those words like, dude, no, I think you may need to change this, maybe you need to change this word.
Or at least it's not even like, why isn't not even giving Lisa a chance to react to these slurs being like, that's very disembodying. Like,
Yeah.
You don't think she enjoys? Like, why would she? Like, she doesn't enjoy being called a slur. Like, why not give her the agency to respond?
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or even when he talked about, or the author wrote about, I guess, was it Ronnie who came in and Reggie was sleeping with the girl who was fat or something. You remember that? I'm like, it just seemed like, why are you right? Like, this girl just seemed sloppy fat, according to how he wrote it. It just, I'm like, what?
No agency.
Yeah, they were talking. Yeah, and even like the one guy, it was some fat shaming and
a lot of fat.
Yeah, it was.
Clearly, the author does not like fat women. Or clearly, I mean,
he ain't no
I don't know. That's my own opinion. My opinion.
He's no small fry either. So he's got.
I know if you saw him on that interview.
Are you eating gummy bears right now?
No, I need a cough drop. I
was like, no, can I have some?
Sorry. I can feel my throat getting really scratchy. Are you guys in New York?
I'm in Atlanta.
Okay.
Oh,
yeah. We just had
Me too. I'm visiting.
Shit.
I'm visiting. I don't live here. My sister lives here.
Yeah.
So I got screams to the mic. Oh, my bad.
Our temperatures. We have a -8 degree.
Ooh, never.
Wait, where are you at? Because I'm in Minneapolis.
I know. I'm in Illinois, and we had a snowstorm, and I've been out shoveling and all that, and I have asthma, and I can feel my I'm losing my voice slowly. So I was like, let me try and sneak one in and maybe kind of get it out. But somebody busted me.
And then I was like, oh, you got gummy bears. It's like Marci.
AKA
Wait,
Marci.
share the candy.
This could be
Virtually.
special.
Like,
This
girl,
could be
what?
special candy, but it's not. It's a Ricola.
I did not mean to put you on blast like that. I
Yeah,
apologize.
you did. But yeah, he did. There was some negative. Yeah, the fat shaming and the other terms, because I don't know. I don't want to be speak incorrectly, but yeah, I did. I cringed when I heard those. I was like, just because she's fat doesn't mean anything, because apparently it is not stopping from her getting her stuff smacked. So shut up, sir. She's getting some. Right. But I'm like, I was like, really? You had to go there?
And then, and just like compare the way that she's talked about and the way Alice is talked about, or like Kaya is talked, or even Jenny is talked about. Like, there's clearly a value judgment being made, and you're like, wait, what does this have to do with the book?
Right.
Especially for these like side inconsequential sort of one-off characters. It's like, okay, girl, like this woman is barely in the story and we doing all this, like cracking all these jokes, doing all this, and I'm like, so
it's also a stereotypical shortcut, like it's a way to rely on certain imagery that society already has prominent. But what's interesting is you're trying to nuance the Black male experience, right? Like, that's the whole point of the book. Like, Black men have an image in society, and you're saying, no, that's not right. Like, let me show you Beauregard from his perspective, the nuance of him, the socioeconomic stuff puts him in that situation. Right. And then you fail to do that with the other characters.
That's
what stings, I think.
Yeah, they were like used as a little crutch. And like you said, they were really small characters, and this is what you do to them.
Right.
Yeah. But the other one was like a prom queen, the one whoever Ronnie wanted to date. She was revered, and those, it made me cringe.
Yeah.
Although I guess in the end, Jenny was dead, and Anne, the girl that they were sleeping with, was alive. So good on you, Anne.
I mean, I guess
you lived to the end of the book.
Save lives.
Jenny was killed in the like she left her house. She was driving. Someone turned around, followed her, and they're like, 100 pages later, oh yeah, girl, Jenny died. Like,
she died off page.
And I'm like, damn, like we can't even get the scene. Like I was like, oh my god, what's gonna happen with Jenny? And like in a one-off line, they're like, oh yeah, Jenny's gone, girl. Like,
the Cadillac followed her, and that was it.
That was that.
That part got me. I was like, because Jenny knew what was up. That was when you were watching a slow motion, accident. I was like, she knew. She said, Ronnie, don't talk to me. Give me the money. She got in her car. I was like, Jenny's going to get out. And no.
I was hoping she would get away. I mean, I'm like, she killed that guy. Let her get away.
Right.
Right.
Like, no.
Yeah.
No such luck.
So...
Oh, that's a lot, guys. Oh my God, it's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot. So
a lot of emotions.
I know you guys read it, but me and Classy listened to the audiobook. So I did want to comment on the audiobook narrator for 1 second.
Okay.
Because it's so important, I feel like. And I know that they tried to get us into the feeling of being in the South and stuff. And I think the narrator was good, but he talks so slow.
Oh my God.
Every word. I'm like, oh my God. So I had to like speed it up to 1.8. And I never listened that fast, but I could not it was just so slow.
Yeah, it was dragging ass. I did the same. It was. And then I did it up to 1.82, and Tamara and I text, every once in a while, and she was like, I had to do it to, increase it. And I said, so did I. She's like, oh God, that is so funny. Because I usually don't go over 1.5, because then it starts sounding like the
like a chipmunk or something.
The chipmunks.
Robotic almost,
And then I had to turn my phone off today because it froze. And when I booted it back up and tried to finish the book, it went to 1. Oh, Tamara. Oh my God. It was awful. It was, and I was like, who sounds like that at one point, at one speed? It was just, yeah, but he did good, but it was just so, I mean, his voice and the different voices, but it was just like, they don't talk.
If I had to talk to someone in real life that talked at that speed, it would be everything in me to keep my face straight and not be like, could you speed it up? I mean, I'm just saying.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It's so funny you say that because I got the book from the library, and funny enough, look at the universe. Like I literally just had a conversation with Ako where she was like, oh, like I read did this audiobook recently, and I was like, let me get into audiobooks. Let me see what's up. So I like found Blacktop Wasteland like on YouTube. So I like started listening.
You say YouTube? I'm sorry.
Yeah, it was on YouTube.
Oh.
Really?
Yeah. So I listened for like 45 seconds and I was like, nah,
I wonder what speed they had it on.
Truly pulled out my library card and was like, okay, let me just get this in person because what I cannot do, I cannot do it. I must read it.
Right, because you can't get those hours back. You cannot.
Absolutely not. I was like, and the whole thing was like 9-10 hours. I was like, oh no, what I won't be doing? Okay,
11 hours.
Let me just.
Yeah. But on 1.8, it kicked it down to like 8 hours or something. I was like,
yeah, I'm curious now. Like, what speed did they have it on YouTube? I didn't realize that they do some YouTube audiobooks.
It was probably
you can find a lot.
Huh?
Yeah, not sure how legal it was, but it was on YouTube.
We're not talking about legality here, man.
We're just
talking about illegal stuff in this this podcast.
Oh my gosh. But all around though, like, certainly lots to discuss. And I will say that like, I was like, okay, like y'all did something. It was very much a page turner, very, very interesting. And like I said, like the thrilling part of it, I was like, oh girl, I cannot even put this down. This is so very interested to see what happened.
Okay. Yeah. Well, it sounds like the perfect time to rate it. What do you guys think? You ready to rate it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll let you guys
Ako was
go
like,
first.
yeah.
Ako, why don't you go first? Tell us what you rated the book. And we like to go on this podcast. We do like good read style. So 1 to 5, no halves. So it could be
no halves. Okay.
Oh, no halves. Oh, no, that's
halves.
gonna
Round it up or round it down.
Make it hard.
Okay. I'll put it at a 4.
Okay.
I want to put you at a 3.5, but I'll put you at a 4. Because I think it's really good, but for the reasons I talked about, it's not entirely grasping at the other characters and not giving Beauregard enough of a moment of realization of just how much he's done to everything and everyone. As a 4, but yeah, that's what I would say.
Okay. What about you, Marci?
It's so funny because I was actually gonna say a 3 for the same reasons. Just because, like it's like it's hard because it's like I do recommend it, but yeah, I guess I feel like sort of the social commentary. I do wish there was more there. And it's not to say that like I didn't like I still liked the book, but yeah, I would just say for those reasons I would probably give it a 3 and would still recommend it, but just kind of give the caveat of like, by the way, some things in this book,
content warning.
Just no, right beforehand, but yeah, so I would say like a 3.
Damn, here I thought I was gonna be harsh. I
was like, I'm actually just gonna give it a star, actually. Like, but no, I'm kidding. I'm totally kidding. Yeah, I would give it a 3.
Okay, what about you, Classy?
I'm gonna give it a 4. I was at the beginning of this podcast like a 5. It was wonderful.
Oh my God. Why are we thinking the same? Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. Because you know what? Because you know how we are. It's really spooky. But after having this conversation and listening to everyone's point of view, I began to see other things. Like I forgot about the things that you mentioned, like the content warning for, the fat shaming and the homophobic, those type of things. And I said I would be remiss not to drop it a point, because just last month I talked about a book that grind my nerves about mental health and, women and how, you pit women against women. And then I'm thinking to myself, how dare I give him, the courtesy of giving him a 5. I gave him a 4 because, like I said, I did connect. His writing was beautiful. I loved his word choices, his style, the speed. I could feel it. So that is why I'm giving him a 4. There was just, he used a lot of euphemisms that I had to look up. And I feel like when I read, I want to learn. And I did learn some things. And if I don't learn, I'm just like, I do. Right. When I read, I feel like you should be taking me to some place that I haven't been. And even though I felt a connection with him, I learned so much. And I learned so much from you too as well, which is why I dropped it from a 5 to a 4.
Gotcha.
Okay. Well, I'm kind of in the same boat. When I finished the book, and my first instinct was, wow, that was pretty good. I was kind of feeling hyped off the ending. Like, I was like feeling all the feels. And I really enjoyed like the action parts. I enjoyed the writing of like the fights and stuff. I did think the start was a little slow, but once things got moving, I was like on board for it. I thought the pacing was good. I thought, like the action was good. But when I was reading, I did have a couple of, okay, I'll keep, okay, keep reading. And then when we talked about it, it kind of, you guys were able to verbalize a lot of the feelings I was having and brought forward some of the problems that the book had. So it was not a perfect book by any means, but it was entertaining nonetheless. And I could actually visualize this as like a movie adaptation, really. I think it would be good on screen.
Same.
Yeah. So with that, I'm going to give it a 4. It's a solid 4. And I probably would recommend it to people who already enjoy these types of books. So if you're used to reading like maybe crime in, in the South or, because I don't read a lot of this type of book where it's in rural areas with.
It's called like noir, some kind of Southern noir. So
Ooh, Southern noir.
Right. Yeah. And like you said too, with the content warning, because I know they do that now, and this would have definitely been warranted.
Definitely
a content warning.
Definitely. Yeah. But it was good. I liked. I liked that I caught the author, with his interview at the end. I think that kind of got me a little bit more interested in what I was reading and watching him on his little Zoom call. I think it was like a week ago he was on. Right. Like the Thriller Authors of America had this little thing and he was on there. Is that what the group is? Something like that. So that got me interested. I was excited to start reading the book after I saw him. So, because I'm not even gonna lie, when we picked this book, I was like, okay, I'll try it. I wasn't like, let's do it. I was like, okay. So good stuff.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, I know.
I do have like a recommendation if you guys like this, which I guess we did, but P-Valley on Stars. It's also set in the South. Takes place in a strip club. It's like very good. I don't know if it's noir, but it has that same intrigue.
It does. Yeah. I like P-Valley. I didn't think I was, but wow.
It's it's well written. So
and it's done well. It's I can't wait for, because like, come on, season 2, come on.
Right.
Okay. I'm gonna have to check that out. I haven't seen it. So
don't be fooled by and that's how I felt. Like, I'm not gonna watch no movie about strippers, and it's a movie. It's directed by women, and you can tell that it's directed by women because they don't they're already sexualized just being strippers. But she goes into the backstories of these women, like why are they doing this, and they're the lifestyle
motivation.
And it is. Like Ako said, I recommend it as well. It's a good story. Because at first, when you first see it, you're like, okay. And then all of a sudden you're hooked. Like, I binged it. I binged it.
Yeah. By episode 2, you're like, okay, let me get to episode 3. And then, like you said, once you get to the end, you're like, let me get to the second season. Like,
Yeah.
Is it? Where is it
Good.
on? Is it on HBO or
Stars.
Like Stars? Okay.
Yep, Stars.
Okay, I gotta figure that out. Okay, it's been
I
on my list for a
know.
while.
I let go
I'm
of
like,
Stars
like,
after they
Stars?
ended
Oof.
their season, and I'm just like, okay, when it starts back up,
right.
I'll get Stars again. But right now, there was nothing on Stars that I needed to see. So
Nice.
yeah,
Fair.
Okay. Well, this was a fun conversation. Thanks, guys, for
It
coming on. I
was.
appreciate you for doing it.
Of course. Thank you.
likewise.
Again, thank you so much for having us.
It was
This is so
very
course.
fun. Very fun. Can't wait to get to your book.
Yeah. Well, speaking of which, let's share what we're going to be talking about on your podcast. What book did you guys present for us? We picked. What was it? Yeah.
It was Mexican Gothic.
Yes,
by
that's been on my list
Mariana
forever.
Garcia.
Yes.
Yeah, we literally so funny. We literally just recorded part 1 of that right before this call. So
Okay.
So we were just thinking, of having y'all on when we record in like 2 weeks and
Yes.
just get into all of it because I have a lot of thoughts and I feel like it's just gonna get wild at the end. Like I just have a feeling. I was like, oh, this book it's a slow burn, but I'm like, I feel like it's gonna get quick.
I started it a little bit because my
Mhm.
library provided it for me. And you know how, I don't know, with your library, they're like, at first they were saying 10 weeks. I was like, okay, so I got time. Well, it opened up quicker. So I started it. And then Tamara was like, it's kind of early. Don't you want to wait? So I got like 20% in. And I'm just like you said, it is a slow burn. I'm like, what's happening? What is happening? So I returned it. And Libby has, I don't know, do you guys have Libby?
Libby, what is
Yeah,
that?
I
Through
have
your
it. It's like a lot.
Yeah, through Overdrive and whatever. Well, now they've updated the app where if you return it and you could just, if you return it early, you can put yourself in line again, but you can pick a date. So I was able to pick a date so I can go back and get it. But now that I've read the 20%, now I'm going to go back and research more of what is Gothic. The Gothic genre, because I'm clueless, because it's interesting, but I think I want to know more of what is Gothic. So that kind of helped me to make me be prepared for your podcast.
Yeah.
Well, I can't wait. I'm excited now because, like I said, that's been on my list for a minute, probably since it came out. So this is a great opportunity for me to finally get it done.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. And it's so funny you mentioned the library because my library literally it's like this whole drama, but basically like there were like, I think when I put in my request, like 40 something holds on the book. And I was like, so I put the request in back in like September, October, like it was like months ago. And it came out like earlier than I wanted it to. So I like, and like they're doing this whole thing where like, I cannot believe I'm telling you all this. They're doing this whole thing where like, usually when you check out a book, it's like you can renew it up to 3 times. You can have it for 3 weeks at a time, all of that. But since this book is so popular, like they just give you that first 3 weeks and that's it. And then you're supposed to return it.
Yeah.
And so I was like, oh, well, girl, I still need it. So I'm going to just keep it. And my library is steady blowing me up like, this is your 4th overdue notice. Mama, we need this book. What are you doing? And I'm like, I'm almost done. Damn, give me like 2 more weeks. So I'm like beefing with my library.
Oh no, they're gonna come for that book. They're gonna show up at your door. Like, give me that book.
No, like literally like, snatch it from my hands, like for real. So don't be surprised when we record if someone just pops up and is like, so we actually need this book. Like we need it now, actually. So
they are like, unask that book, Marci. Unask it.
So a mess, but yes, but I'm super excited to talk about it with y'all because
the library police are going to get you. That's all you think of.
Oh, they will. They're coming for me, but I'm gonna give it to them. I'm gonna give it to y'all. Don't worry about me. I got it. Just give me a little bit. Because also, to be fair, y'all should just let me renew it like the other books. But it is what it is. Whatever.
Oh.
So not me literally posting up for the library. But anyway,
that's funny.
But yeah,
that's funny.
All right. Well, again, thanks, guys. We appreciate you, and we look forward to being on your podcast.
Of course.
Yes.
Of course. Yes. Can't wait to have y'all.
Yes.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Okay. Bye.
All right. Bye. Take care. All right. That was fun, y'all.
It was.
That was fun. Hope you enjoyed that. Having special guests. We might have to have other special guests on once in a while.
Yeah, that was fun. Very enlightening and different points of views. It's just great. Yeah.
For sure. Okay, that's it for today's show. We appreciate you for being here and especially listening to this longer episode. And as always, we look forward to talking with you inside of Shelf Addiction Official about this book during our book club meeting. And lastly, don't forget you can check out this after show available on Patreon right now. Happy reading. Take care, guys. If you enjoyed today's episode and would like to show your support, there are a few things you can do. Head on over to Apple Podcasts and leave a positive 5-star review, or like this episode on your favorite podcast player. It seems so simple, but it really helps me out. You can share this podcast with other book nerd friends or on your favorite social media space. You can also join the Shelf Addiction Patreon family. For as little as $2 a month, you will help us produce even more awesome content for your ears. You can also consider joining the Shelf Addiction Official Facebook group, where we talk all things bookish and more in a safe space. The Shelf Addiction Podcast is a part of the Nerdy Maven Network. You can also reach us via email at info@shelfaddiction.com. Thank you for listening.
Progressive presents an interview with your upstairs neighbor.
Hey, it's Rick from upstairs. Yeah, I take it seriously. When I play R&B at 1 a.m, that's me saying, hey, I'm here for you. And I enjoy repetitive bass lines. I only use expired batteries in my smoke detectors. Nice, right? Yeah, upstairs neighbors help people forget their troubles. Give them something else to focus on. Ooh, want to see how high I can jump?
Progressive can't save you from your upstairs neighbor.
No, wait, let me try again.
But we can save you money when you bundle renters and auto insurance with us. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and other insurers. Bundle discount not available in all states or situations.
Dear home, we need a change. A room evolution. We need HomeSense. A new store where one bold piece can change your whole place. Like a leather sofa built for beauty and binge watching. With endless discoveries, I'll always bring you something pretty, or cool, or pretty cool. Want a hand-woven rug? Game-changing savings mean the answer is yes. I'm going now. There are new stores in Carl Place, New York, and Toms River, New Jersey. Love you. HomeSense. This changes everything.